Welcome to JSA TV, where we're covering the latest news, trends, and innovations from thought leaders within the digital infrastructure industry. I'm Dean Perrine, EVP at JSA, and we are coming to you live. That's right, we are live from beautiful Honolulu, Hawaii for PTC 2025. And to my right is my new friend, Mr. Asher Genoot. Asher is the CEO of Hut 8. Asher, welcome to JSA TV.
Thanks for having me. Not a bad venue.
Not a bad venue at all, Asher. Absolutely. And honestly, and so Asher is our first guest of the entire conference, and ultimately one of the more unique guests we're going to have while we're here. Asher, so so Hut 8 started as a Bitcoin mining company and has evolved into an energy infrastructure provider. That to me sounds like quite an evolution. Why don't you tell our guests a little bit about your beginnings and how you got where you are today?
Sure. When we started the business, Bitcoin mining is really just about energy infrastructure and energy arbitrage.
Mhm.
The biggest operating cost for Bitcoin is energy. And so we got really, really good at finding energy around the US and internationally
Mhm.
at scale. And today, when we look at the evolution of kind of the data center world and demand
That's
profile,
right.
they're looking for energy at scale and outside of these traditional hubs historically, like Virginia and
Yeah.
Chicago and so forth. And
Mhm.
so I think as we think about Hut 8, that is the business, which is building value at that interconnection
Mhm.
between power and technology and continuing to empower the evolution of technology through the interconnect between power.
So power is the buzzword. It's the keyword of our entire conversation.
Yeah.
And during your recent earnings report, you mentioned a power first approach. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about that?
So we always often get the question of, are we a Bitcoin mining company?
Right.
Are we now a data center AI company? And my answer is neither and all of the above. And what do I mean
Yeah.
by that? I mean, at the core of the business, it's power.
Mhm.
How do we lock up large scale power and how do we convert that to the highest and best use of those megawatts,
Mhm.
right? And so if you looked a couple of years ago, nobody would go out to these remote areas and consume power other than Bitcoin mining data centers. Today, that's changing with the evolution of demand of the AI data center and specifically around GPU training clusters and a
Mhm.
lower need on latency to be in tier one data center markets.
Mhm.
And so for us, in the next couple of years, that may also change where there may be other use cases that need that power as well. And so that's why we want people to think about Hut 8 as an energy infrastructure platform that has a power first approach,
Yeah.
because our job is to create a power infrastructure platform and to place the best technologies that need to consume that power in order to advance. And
Mhm.
that's our job. And so today, the buzz and where most of the demand is around data centers and AI that may evolve over time, or this may continue for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
But that's our business and that's kind of our core and where we pride ourselves in creating a moat and creating value over long term.
Excellent, Asher. So one of the reasons why I knew that this was going to be a bit more of a unique interview is that your evolution as a company is kind of mirroring that of the industry. And so it appears that you are real good at taking the pulse of what's needed and making sure that you are evolving along that trajectory. So for our viewers listening now, why don't you tell them what your vision of the future is for maybe the industry and for Hut 8?
When we look out in the next decade, we're big believers that as technology advances, so too will its need and consumption on power at scale.
Mhm.
And so the World Bank actually put out this great chart that I love to reference, which showed a country's GDP
Mhm.
on an axis with the per energy capital consumption of that country. And there was essentially a linear correlation, which is the higher the GDP per capita was, the higher the energy consumption per
Mhm.
capita. And so that directly goes to show that consuming energy is not a bad thing. The question is, how do we do so in a sustainable manner that allows the grid to thrive,
Mhm.
allows reliability to continue to strengthen,
Yeah.
and not create volatility in the grid and reliability specifically?
Yeah.
And so when we think about the world over the next decade, it's not how do we just decrease power consumption, it's how do we build a sustainable grid and sustainable assets on that grid that can consume power at scale to empower these technologies over the next decade to continue to scale and grow,
Yeah.
but in a way that works hand in hand, because I think historically, when you think about technology, there was really no mindset on energy.
Right.
And the mindset was, we need power, we need to power our data center, we need to power our compute. But now, because at the scale that these things are operating, it matters to understand the gives and takes on all parts of the value chain to create a sustainable ecosystem. And so that's where we want to play. That's where we want to continue to build value at.
I love it. And the sustainability rabbit hole is one that I love to jump into. I'll refrain from that right now, but I do love that HUD 8 is really thinking more about simply, putting the blinders on and saying, this is what we do, but rather thinking about all of the things that need to come together in order to do this responsibly.
That's right. That's right. It's not an easy problem to be solved. Every region is different. You have regulated energy markets, you have unregulated, you have competitive choice. And so it's really understanding the load profiles of the technologies that we work with, how those load profiles interact in different energy markets, and are those complementary to those energy markets, or will those create volatility and disruption in those energy markets? And I think that is the key, and solving that problem will allow us to unlock a lot of interesting technologies in the world, and we're excited to be at that intersection.
Asher, it is a pleasure getting to know you in the short few minutes that we've had today. Thank you so much for being on JSA TV.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
You bet. And thank you, viewers, for watching JSA TV. Stay curious, stay happy, and happy networking. We'll see you soon.